The Supreme Court's decision today marks a turning point in the story of American trade. As the sun rises over the marble columns of the nation's highest court, the eyes of the world are watching, waiting to see how this ruling will ripple through the economy and the lives of everyday Americans. With a single resounding judgment, the court has reshaped American trade policy, sending shockwaves through government halls and boardrooms alike. In a landmark 6-3 ruling, the justices struck down the Trump-era tariffs, declaring them unconstitutional. This decision wasn't just about taxes on steel or washing machines, it was about the very foundation of how America governs its economic relationships with the world. The court's move is a major rebuke of executive overreach, a clear message that the power to shape trade policy belongs not to one person, but to the representatives of the people in Congress. For decades, presidents have wielded sweeping authority over trade, but today, that era has come to an end. The implications are vast and immediate, touching every corner of the nation. In Pittsburgh, steel prices may shift, affecting not just big corporations but also the workers who rely on these jobs to support their families. In Ohio, the cost of washing machines and other appliances could change, impacting both factory workers and consumers at home. The ripple effects will be felt in small towns and big cities alike. Critics of the tariffs are celebrating, calling this a victory for the rule of law and a restoration of constitutional checks and balances. For them, today's decision is about more than economics. It's about protecting democracy itself. They see a renewed balance of power, where no single branch of government can act alone, and where the voices of the people, through their elected officials, matter once again. But not everyone is cheering. Supporters of the tariffs argue that this ruling weakens America's ability to defend its industries from unfair foreign competition. They worry that American factories and workers could be left vulnerable in a fiercely competitive global market. The era of unilateral presidential trade wars is over. No longer can a single executive impose sweeping tariffs with the stroke of a pen. The power has shifted, and with it, the responsibility to act wisely and deliberately. A new chapter begins, with Congress now firmly at the helm of trade policy. Lawmakers must navigate complex negotiations, balancing the needs of American workers, businesses, and consumers, while also considering the nation's role on the world stage. The debate over America's place in the global economy is wide open. Will the U.S. embrace free trade or seek new protections for its industries? How will this decision affect relationships with allies and rivals alike? Economists and policymakers are already poring over the data, searching for answers. Every American has a stake in what happens next. From factory floors to family kitchens, from Wall Street to Main Street, the choices made in Washington will shape the future for generations. How will we compete in a changing world? How will we protect our workers, ensuring that American jobs are not just preserved, but allowed to grow and thrive in a global marketplace? These are questions that demand thoughtful debate and bold leadership. And ultimately, who gets to decide? The answer, now more than ever, lies with the people and their representatives. The future of American trade is being written today, and its story belongs to all of us. The Supreme Court's decision hinges on a pivotal piece of legislation that has shaped trade policy for decades. This is the Trade Expansion Act of 1962, a cornerstone in the history of American trade law. It was originally designed to give the president the power to negotiate tariffs and trade agreements, aiming to expand international trade and strengthen the U.S. economy. However, the court found that the Trump administration's interpretation of national security to justify imposing tariffs was excessively broad and not in line with the original intent of the act. This decision marks a significant shift in how trade policy is executed. As a result, the ruling effectively voids the tariffs on steel, aluminum, and a wide range of Chinese goods, setting a new legal precedent that could reshape future trade negotiations and economic strategies. Moving forward, future presidents will be required to collaborate more closely with Congress to impose tariffs, ensuring a more balanced approach to trade policy. However, the dissenting justices expressed concern, warning that this decision could limit the president's ability to swiftly respond to unfair trade practices and protect American industries. The Biden administration now faces the complex task of unwinding these tariffs, a process that involves careful negotiation and strategic planning to maintain economic stability. Industries, that have benefited from these tariffs are expected to lobby vigorously for new protections, seeking to safeguard their interests in a rapidly changing trade environment. Meanwhile, advocates for free trade will continue to push for policies that promote open markets and international cooperation, highlighting the benefits of reduced trade barriers. This ruling effectively clears the board, creating a vacuum that both Congress and the White House must now work to fill with new policies and strategies. The future of American trade is now a wide-open question, with opportunities and challenges that will require innovative solutions and collaborative efforts from all branches of government. The Trump administration's America First trade agenda was a cornerstone of its economic policy, designed to prioritize American interests in the global market. It aimed to protect American industries by revitalizing domestic manufacturing and reducing dependency on foreign imports. Tariffs were strategically implemented to level the playing field, making foreign goods more expensive and less competitive compared to American-made products. This approach was intended to bring jobs back to the U.S., encouraging companies to hire locally and invest in American workers. Section 232 of the Trade Expansion Act was invoked to justify these tariffs, citing national security concerns as a primary reason for their imposition. The administration argued that a robust economy was essential for national security, linking economic strength directly to the country's ability to defend itself. This led to tariffs on steel and aluminum imports, affecting even close allies like Canada and the EU, which sparked significant diplomatic discussions. The tariffs ignited a trade war with China, leading to retaliatory measures and causing disruptions in global trade routes, affecting supply chains worldwide. Supporters of the policy point to a revival in the American steel industry, with increased production and job creation as evidence of its success. However, critics highlight the downside, noting higher prices for consumers on everyday goods and significant struggles for farmers facing retaliatory tariffs on agricultural exports. This complex legacy of the America First trade doctrine sets the stage for ongoing legal battles and the Supreme Court's decision, which could redefine the future of U.S. trade policy. At the heart of this complex case was who truly controls American trade policy. The Constitution explicitly gives Congress the power to regulate commerce with foreign nations. Over time, Congress has delegated some trade authority to the president. The ongoing debate was whether the president exceeded those established limits. Plaintiffs argued the national security justification was merely a pretext for economic protectionism. The Supreme Court ruled that the president's role is not unlimited. The ultimate power to regulate foreign commerce belongs firmly to Congress. The business world's reaction to the Supreme Court's decision was immediate. The Dow Jones surged, with investors betting on lower costs and higher profits. Manufacturers using imported materials saw the news as a lifeline. The decision could lead to lower prices for consumers and new investments. However, the American steel and aluminum industries expressed disappointment. They warned of a flood of subsidized foreign metal. Farmers, affected by the trade war with China, are cautiously optimistic. The end of tariffs opens the door to normalizing trade relations with China. The Supreme Court's decision resonated globally. U.S. allies welcomed the ruling as a return to predictable trade policies. The European Commission called it a victory for common sense. Canada and Mexico saw it as a chance for deeper cooperation. Beijing's response was measured, seeing an opportunity to de-escalate trade conflicts. The ruling strengthens the idea that trade disputes should be resolved through international rules. It's a boost for those who believe in a global economy governed by law. The Supreme Court's decision marks a new chapter, with Congress in control. Lawmakers must now decide on America's trade policy. The debate will be fierce, with different regions and industries vying for influence. Congress must address industries previously protected by tariffs. They face pressure from industries eager for free trade. This sets up a battle between free trade advocates and protectionists. The challenge is to forge a new consensus on trade policy. The choices made in Congress will define America's role in the world for a generation.